Hi everyone, so I've called this video Shadow Work, Where Do I Start? Because I very often get asked that question by new people that come to the group Awaken with Shadow Work, and they want to know where to begin. And they often come with either existential crisis, or they come with some kind of awakening, or they come because they're traumatized and they are fed up of feeling sad and unhappy and they want to know why. So lots of different, and they also, some of them might have also taken, medication, or they might have had counseling in the past and it's not worked. So people come from all different kinds of places to know about this. But one of the quotes that I always use in my group is, in order to heal yourself, you have to do it yourself and not look for someone else to do it for you. And so that quote is by Tsarion. So it's one that I use quite regularly on the group. And it's one that really kind of got me started as well. It's that feeling of, you can actually do it yourself. You don't have to, you have to rely on anyone else. And I think it's the first step in autonomy as well, because it for once gives you the opportunity to feel that you can affect yourself, that you are responsible for yourself. And I think in this day and age, we don't have enough autonomous people. We have lots and lots of people who, just do as they're told, basically, and don't ever really kind of develop autonomy. But with shadow work, if you do it properly, if you do it diligently, then you will know yourself more. And that's the whole key of it. Is individuation is about knowing yourself. It's about stepping into all of your potential that you have potential to be, and fulfilling your destiny, whatever that is. And destiny is not necessarily preordained, written up before you're born, I don't think, anyway. There are certain things and certain people and places that we might end up, but I do believe that at any given time we have the opportunity to master ourselves and to say, this is what I'm going to do, and to make a decision about how life is going to be. So I don't know what's happening with the lighting; it keeps on turning on and off, so it will continue to do that. I don't know if it's because it's kind of sunny outside. I'm not really sure. Okay, so shadow work is about finding out what is unconsciously guiding your thoughts, your perceptions, and ultimately your actions. So if you find yourself often in a situation where you are unhappy and that you are feeling depressed, that you're not very happy with life as it is, that you're not happy with the way that you behave in certain situations, then this is most definitely what you should do. The premise of shadow work is really simple. I mean, I've written it on my website, but the actual going through the process is the difficult part, and it has to be self-directed. So it's really about you learning what it is you need to do, which is very simple, and then going through the process yourself, which is the hard bit. And then the group is there for the fallout. That the group is there for sharing information and finding out more. There's lots of people there are very very knowledgeable about shadow work, and some aren't. And people are sharing lots of information that's really useful for some people, and then maybe not for others. But then there are other things that can help different people. So what you need to look at in your shadow when starting your shadow work are first of all, your negative personality traits, all the things that you're maybe ashamed of. So you need to look at your shame. What are you ashamed of? Your rage, your anger, your depression. Now, your depression is your rage spread thin. So just remember that. What are you angry about? What was it that you weren't able to communicate? Maybe when you were younger, maybe more recently. Your jealousy, your bitterness, resentment, your how you can be manipulative, situations where you found yourself to be wanting certain things to happen and trying to make them happen without actually telling anyone. How you can be devious, because we all have the potential for it. So yeah, looking at those is a pretty big one. Write them down. Get yourself a journal, get yourself a shadow work journal, something that you're happy to write in, that you maybe lines on one side and blank on the other, so that you can maybe draw, or you can doodle, or you can make a mess, or but this is all about expressing. It's about introspecting, and it's about expressing what comes up inside of you. And it's not easy. It does take dedication. You do need to set some time for yourself weekly to do this if you're really dedicated to it. You have to be dedicated. You have to have the will to want to change. And shadow work is all about finding the truth. It's about finding the truth of what is unconsciously within you, and finding out who you really are. And what comes with that also is a sense of peace, a sense of fulfillment. You'll understand yourself a lot better. You'll be able to know what you need in terms of your boundaries and expectations in your relationships. You will know better how to please yourself, how to set your life up so that you're not constantly on the move, that you're not constantly at anyone's beck and call. Life just becomes a little bit more, a lot deeper, a lot more. You'll feel a lot more joy and a lot more pain. You feel more, you're more alive. When you are yourself, you need to reconnect with yourself. And it's not just, it's most people are so far removed from themselves, and a lot of it's to do with social and cultural conditioning. It's to do with the fact that we were all brought up by people that didn't know any of this stuff, people that hadn't dealt with their shadows, people that were projecting all over us, people that were insecure and wanted to keep us to themselves as children, or who were violent or angry or bitter, or that projected all of those things that we might now find that we actually carry ourselves. So it's about, first of all, looking at all of those negative personality traits. I say negative because really, it's just they're just personality traits. They're the uncomfortable ones. They are the indicators. They are the messages from the unconscious, or the dark guardians. When you feel angry or resentful or bitter, or that you need to, oh shit, I think I was going to manipulate someone, or I'm going to behave I'm going to do something that I'm not very happy with. Why is the question? Why? That you have to keep on asking, why am I doing this? Why? What am I trying to gain? And where does this come from? So once you've kind of written down all your negative personality traits, you need to start thinking about why do I behave that way? Why do they come up? What are the triggers? What are they associated with? Are there any memories that come up with that? One of my first shadow prompts on the group actually was one where I said the first thing that people should do in shadow work is tell their own story, is to actually record themselves telling their own story. So get your phone, record yourself, tell your story to yourself, watch it back. Now, first of all, you'll have the shock horror of hearing your own voice, which is also always horrible. And then also you get to see yourself. You get to see yourself through the eyes of other people. And we often don't see ourselves like that. We are within ourselves, and so we are projecting outwards. And most people don't do videos of themselves and have to watch themselves back. So when you do that, you get to see yourself as you are, you get to hear yourself as you are, and you will notice maybe some inconsistencies in your body language, or some changes in your voice with certain stories that you're telling, stories about your life that you've told yourself that you believe, that maybe there might be something, there could be something in that. There could be something to say, oh, I didn't sound quite very convincing when I was saying blah, whatever that was. So that'd be quite an interesting thing for you to do initially. So shadow work requires radical honesty. And I found in my own shadow work journey that I was like, okay, I'm lying to myself. I'm going to try not to do that anymore. Oh, look, I'm lying to myself. Let's try not to do that anymore. Oh, fuck, I'm still lying. It carries on. There's just layers and layers and layers. Because what we do, when we suffer trauma in childhood or whatever, we tell ourselves lies about the people around us, about how they feel about us, about the situation that's happening. We're projecting our own sadness and our pain and our guilt and our fear and whatever onto the situation. It's not always as it seems. So one thing I realized with this idea of radical honesty, once I started to realize that I was actually telling lies to myself about myself and my situation, which I think most people kind of go through, which is quite a hard process to go through, was that I started to see myself as I am, or as I was, rather than as I thought I was. And there was a huge difference between what I thought I was and what I actually was. So that's quite a big revelation. And you'll find that with shadow work, once you dedicate yourself to doing shadow work, you'll find that, you know, these keep on coming, like bang, okay, another one. You know, and sometimes you do need to give yourself a break. Sometimes you do need to say, okay, I need to stop this. I just need to go and watch some comedy, or, you know, do something completely different, or go for a walk or whatever. Because it can be, you know, you need time to digest some of the truths that you've been hiding from yourself. So, okay, you also have to be very ready to let go of your preconceived ideas. You have to, and it's quite, it reminds me of, in tarot, it reminds me of the Tower card. It's like this kind of, this castle built on shifting sands, where the foundations are just going, gone. And you know, you do have to let yourself be in that position where it's like everything, all of the relationships that you thought, you know, you understood quite well, you can kind of start seeing, not in order to blame, but you can start seeing where there are some things that didn't quite, you know, weren't as nurturing perhaps as you might have previously thought they were, or you know, maybe a negative, or what you perceive as a negative relationship actually taught you quite a lot about yourself. Or, you know, you have to be ready to kind of see yourself differently, and you have to be able to see, to be open to seeing other relationships in that way as well, which can also be very, very difficult. I'm not saying that, you know, you need to end all your relationships. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think it's really key to understand the truth of everything, and that can sometimes mean, you know, looking at the relationship you have with your closest caregiver as a child, and questioning, you know, what were the motives behind that, what were the insecurities behind that, what were, you know, what was the effect, with all the best meaning in the world. You know, there could have been a lot of good meaning there, but actually it could have affected you negatively in some way. So it's like being really open to seeing things differently. So then once you kind of get to this stage, you need to go back to the roots of some of these sort of negative personality traits. Where did they start? How did they get there? You know, what was the precursor? What are the current triggers? The triggers will show you, and then you can sort of align them to some memories as well. You can kind of join them up and say, okay, well, that reminds me of that, so this must have happened, or that I remember this happening and that affected this. The other thing is, you need to start looking at your dreams, and your dreams will tell you things that you don't unconsciously know. Sometimes they will compensate for a situation that you would like to happen, and give you an opportunity to experience a situation where you can confront someone, which recently came up on the group. And that can be very useful. That can actually be very healing. That kind of dream can be really sort of transformational, actually. And it can, yeah, I mean, and also what you can do with that, you can do active imagination with that afterwards. You can then sit in meditation with that dream that you had, try and get back into that feeling of the dream, and then start to control it with your imagination and say, okay, well, actually, I had a lot more to say to you. This is how I really felt about, you know, what you did, blah, 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 and have that conversation, where maybe in real life that person would never turn up to have that conversation with you. That can be really very empowering, very useful, and very transformative as well. So that's what I mean. You can have a look for another of my videos on active imagination there, and there is one already on there. They're not all brilliant. You know, I am an amateur at this at the moment. This is, you know, I'm just kind of working from home, just doing what I can, and, you know, just don't judge me on my shit videos. All right, judge me. So yes, I mean, so, and then it's about releasing. Okay, so the release is the act of imagination. It's the art making. Okay, there's a painting of mine, a drawing of mine. These are things that I do whenever I have a dream. If there's something that's really poignant, these are both from my shadow work when I started in 2014. I started to draw, I started to paint, I started to do journaling, I started to make notes about everything, writing down all my dreams, looking at the symbolic language of dreams, trying to work out what they're actually trying to say to me. It's a lost language. If you have some dreams that are really intricate or that you don't quite understand, you can put them on the group, and either myself or someone else will give you some feedback on those dreams. And then the other thing is, you know, about movement as well, movement and dancing. You know, I've always really hated dancing, but I can see it's something that's come up quite recently, is this thing about, you know, how the somatics of, you know, these kind of psychological problems and these, you know, depression, all this kind of stuff, how it kind of sits in the body, how, you know, tension builds up in the body in certain, you know, in certain situations. And then it's about kind of moving the body to try and release whatever it is. Maybe you could go get massage, you could do some movement, you could do some dancing, you know, just feel where your body is. But another really key thing is to feel back into the body, is to reconnect with your instincts, reconnect with the body, your gut instinct, your how your body's feeling, and be very what's the word, reactive as well. Like if there's a situation that you're not enjoying, or there's a person that you were friends with and that person just drained you now, if you listen to your body instead of telling yourself lies about that person, no, she's your friend, so just go and see her, you know, she whatever. If you feel how your body feels, if you're uncomfortable there and you don't want to be there, you know, make your excuses and leave. Go by what your body's telling you. Always listen to your body. Your body is constantly communicating with you. I recently put on a post a picture that I drew about, there's a woman's face I was drawing, kind of reminded me of, what's her name, that one? Statue of Liberty in New York. I was drawing her, and then I started drawing her hair. The hair became a body. It's like, okay, so now I have like this body and this head in two separate places. And that for me was my indicator. That was me that, you know, you're disconnected from your body. And I absolutely was. I had no idea. And I started reading up about, you know, disembodiment, you know, in terms of psychology, in terms of Jungian psychology. And I saw that, you know, there was this kind of rejection of the body. It's like a kind of, like, I just rejected it completely. I didn't feel it. I very, you know, really, very, very rarely felt anything. I've become so used to pushing down, suppressing all my emotions, that there was no feeling anymore. And part of the way that I kind of came to this as well was that at that time I drew that picture. I don't know if I drew a picture before or after, but I do remember this that I'll tell you about. And it was that I used to watch some cows in a field quite often when I lived in Ireland, and we used to have like a new family of cows every summer or something. It was fucking awful. You watch these beautiful cows come into the field, and you see them behave like a family, and you see how they'd all kind of like sort of, I don't know, they lick each other, nurture each other, they lick each other, and they play when the sun goes down. And you know, it's kind of fascinating to watch this family, and they only work from instincts. They seem to have three different modes, but one of them is fear. So they'll just, if they see a human, they'll run off, and rightly so. And the other one was indifference, doesn't give a shit, eating some grass. And the other one was some kind of joy. They most definitely experienced some kind of joy there as well, which was quite nice to watch. And I'd often see the little calves go underneath the electric fence, and they go like playing around in the other field, and then the mummy and daddy cow, big cows, would be calling out to them, and they'd just be like, "Bug off, I'm dancing," and then they'd just be jumping around in the other field. So I used to quite like watching them. But the point I'm making is that I noticed that they only work from instincts. They're just instinctual, and I thought to myself, where's mine? I don't have any instincts. Everything that I do is thought about beforehand. So that's what I learned about watching. You know, as much as I had some joy watching these cows, there was also something to learn from them. That, you know, they were really in tune with themselves, and I certainly wasn't at that time. And it took a lot of time and dedication, a lot of meditation, a lot of kind of mindfulness, actually, just kind of going back in and sort of like moving the tips of your fingers, being very aware and kind of really sensing, you know, very small parts of your body in different ways, and kind of concentrating on those. And then in real life, kind of, you know, working out how do I feel, and I get a lot of feeling in the solar plexus as well. This is the gut feeling, so this will always show me how I'm really feeling about something, you know, and I have to kind of then sort of navigate, you know, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, or if it's going to be beneficial for me or not, or, you know, so this kind of thing. So this is my introduction to shadow work. It's a bit here and there. yeah, introduction to shadow work and a story about some cows. So if you're not already on the Awaken with Shadow Work group on Facebook, then you should go on it. There is a page as well which doesn't get as much. There isn't any discussion at all really on that. But the group is very dynamic, very interactive, and there's a lot of support for people if they need it. So yeah, share your stories, and there's also a guide on my website. There is a guide on the website. When you join the group, there's a link to the website. So, and there is a how-to guide. And as I said, I mean, this is very simple stuff what I've just said today, but the hardest part is you actually doing it. So, you know, dedicating your time and your effort to maybe half an hour a week, you know, to have some time alone. You have to be alone to do this. You know, spend time in nature, be on your own, you know, don't be scared of it. This is exactly what you need to do. And then, you know, there are lots of other kind of awakening things that happen as well. There could be that, you know, you might feel yourself being distant from friends that you've had for years, or, you know, you might not want to go out so much. You might want to go out more. You know, there are lots of changes that happen when you start to look into this. But do take note of your dreams. Your dreams will be really, really important. And I think once you start looking at dreams, then it's often an invitation for the magic to happen, for the synchronicities, for the world to start speaking to you in new ways, in a way that I can't explain logically. I can't, but it happens. It happens that, you know, you'll experience synchronicity, you'll hear the songs at the right time, you'll see double numbers, you know, 4-digit numbers the same, and all this kind of stuff starts to happen. It's like the universe starts to talk to you. There is a quote there somewhere that when you start to notice the unseen starts to notice you, and that's exactly what happens with shadow work if you go through it properly, the way I've just said. So good luck with it. Join the group if you're not already on it, and yeah, get in contact with us if you need to.